Let me just double check on YouTube itself. So I'm just in the YouTube portion. And I'm just going to mute it on the other end. So just give me a second. All right, it's going live. Itself, so I'm just in the YouTube. Okay. So there's always a 30-second delay. So we're a little bit like, we're like 40 or 30 seconds in the future compared to the people in the live chat. So hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this special event on my channel. It is going to be a series of different debates that I'll be doing on Sunday nights. I'm not going to do them always, but for right now, there'll probably be a nice run of them. And tonight's subject matter is the LDP as dead as Fred? I know that's a mean thing to say, but that was Samraat's idea. It was his tagline.
What are you talking about? This is throwing under the bus here.
I didn't know how to make the subject matter good. Wow, I'm blurry, really blurry. Anyway, all right.
That's all the whiskey you've been drinking.
All the whiskey. This is a good subject matter because for anyone wondering how it came about, I interviewed Joel Jamal, who is a friend of Samraat, and they organized a coup against Fred Nile, and so they've been making the rounds in the media. And while I was interviewing them, Samraat had the audacity to challenge Dean McCrae, basically saying, "Oh, well, what's so good about the LDP? They don't have any relevancy today." And so then I thought, haha, this is a fantastic subject matter for a debate. And so Dean was excited to do it because he wants to crush him into a fine powder. Is that correct?
If I was going to crush Samraat into a fine pellet, I wouldn't do it on TV. That'd be very inappropriate.
True, and you had your chance.
I would have done it at the Medicine for Cannabis event when I had him in my arms and was giving him a hug. No, we're not gonna crush Samraat. But I did enjoy your debate and your interview with Samraat and Joel, and I did notice that Samraat did have some disparaging things to say about the LDP, of which I'm obviously a member. And when I did sort of tune in and have a bit to say in response, Samraat sort of invited me to debate, and that's nice of him to do. And it's always good to have at least enough confidence in your opinions to come forward publicly and share them and debate the ideas and the concepts. So well done, Samraat. It's not a bad way to go, young mate.
Samraat, any words before we begin officially?
I've got friends in the LDP, so hopefully they won't be offended by what I say, or choose to be offended, as you like to put it. Offense is a choice. Offense is a choice.
So if any of your friends in the LDP are offended, they need to toughen up a little bit, yeah?
Yeah.
Didn't one of your friends in the LDP say that, and we don't have to name the fella, but didn't he say that Dean was a simpleton?
I've been called worse by people who love me, let's be fair.
So funny. Give me a second. I just want to write in the comments. For anyone that has yet to see it, I did an interview last night regarding Hogatha on Unframe of Mind. So everyone, please subscribe to Unframe of Mind, and then you can see everything that went down with the Hogatha feud. Okay, so this is the subject matter. Is the LDP as dead as Fred? There will be no formal structure implemented into this particular debate. The one we're doing next week will be a little bit more structured. This is more of a discussion, but who wants to go first to assert their position?
Let Dean go first. Defend the LDP.
Dean, why is the LDP relevant today?
The LDP is in, obviously it is in massive upheaval. There's a lot of changes that have gone on. Our federal senator for the last 5, 6, 7 years, depending on where you start, he's sort of run as the candidacy and all that sort of thing. David Lynham lost his seat federally, and then he failed to gain a seat in New South Wales, and it's been a big blow to the New South Wales portion of the party. But nationally, we've still got 3 MLCs. We've got Aaron Stonehouse, who's kicking goals over in WA. We've got Tim Quilty and Dave Limbrick, who seem to have commandeered the Socialist Republic of Victoria, and we've got an awful lot of you down there in Victoria. You know what it's like. I mean, and we've got two libertarian MLCs down there so the three of them are doing great work. They're doing an excellent job. So to say the LDP's dead is sort of it's a bit it's wrong. Let's be fair. Now, in saying that, we've got a new national president this year. So again, more upheaval, more big change. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's all bad. What it means is the time for change was there. I've got a bit of a theory that any more than 4 to 8 years, that's why the Americans do it the way they do it, any more than 4 to 8 years of somebody in charge is too long. As a human, that much power is really not a good thing. And to be fair, that's probably where I saw some value in Samraat and Joel's manoeuvres within the CDP. I can see where the frustration came from to make a move like that. But I've also got to ask, Samraat, are you still even a member of the CDP, or have you had a crack at joining the new A1 party?
No, I'm not a member of any party at the current time.
Ricardo Bossy! Keep going.
Ricardo Bossy's a top quality individual from everything I've seen of him. I don't agree with 100% of his stuff, but I think we have a lot of common ground, which is good. As for the Fred Nile stuff, that's your inner party workings, and I try to worry about my own in-house issues and problems, and they're the ones I focus on. I sort of don't really talk too much about what other parties are doing unless it's, they did a good job doing that. Let's see if we can learn from it or improve on that. But yeah, look, the LDP is not going anywhere in a hurry. We've just, our national executive have just laced their boots and put out a survey to all the members for a new direction, new strategy. I'm sure it won't be too far from the old strategy as far as things go, but it will be a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more professional, hopefully. And it's just leveling up. I mean, we're only an 18-year-old party, 19-year-old party. It's only a baby. And none of this stuff happens quickly or simply.
Okay, so Samraat, you claim that LDP has absolutely no relevancy anymore, that they're basically dead, but you've just heard that there are 3, I think, senators in Parliament. Is that what you said? Or 3?
I think 3 in different state parliaments.
In different states, where the CDP, what success do they have by contrast? So set up your introduction, set up your stance. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you pointed out you have 3 members of parliament in different states. But I think the most important statistic in looking at a party's relevance or success is how many votes they get. And voting trends obviously show where a party is going to be in 5 or 6 years. And the LDP's voting trends are showing that within 5 or 6 years, it will be a dead party. So let's start with the 2013 federal election. The LDP, and this is primary votes according to Electoral Commission website, got 523,000 primary votes. And of that 523,000, 450,000 were from New South Wales. So in 2013, when the LDP got one of its highest votes, the majority of its voters were from New South Wales. So the LDP was essentially a New South Wales-based party. In 2019, the LDP got 169,000 first preference federal votes. So that's down almost 80% of the votes. And in New South Wales, they went from 450,000 to 89,000 primary votes. So that alone, the numbers speak for themselves, shows the LDP is losing votes at an exponential rate. And within another 5 or 6 years, that vote's just going to keep going down and down and down. And you speak about the national review you're having. You're going to have a big event where members can submit their own proposals. And I think it's a very positive thing to have. Unfortunately, I've seen far too many of those kind of reviews happen in different minor parties where they come to no avail. And so what you're essentially doing is speculation. You're looking to the future and saying that at a certain point in time, maybe a couple months from now, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, the LDP might be better. But at the current time, it isn't very good at all. And this speculation with national reviews is just a way to kind of buy time and buy cover and face with the fact that the LDP is a dead and dying party. And you spoke about David Leyonhjelm, but one of the LDP's biggest critics is its own former leader, David. And he spent the last couple of months just absolutely trashing the executive and the party. And what does that say about the party when its own leader turns against it? You know, it's one thing for a member to speak up and say, I don't like the way the party's being run. It's another thing for the leader to bag out his own baby and pet project. So that's where I stand. The LDP, the numbers speak for themselves. It's going downhill, and people are just aren't voting for them anymore. That's it.
That's it. That's it.
How do you respond, Dean?
Well, I mean, look, for starters, obviously there was a pretty big public falling out with David and the national executive. Now, I'm on the state New South Wales executive. I'm not on the national executive. I don't have that kind of sway. I wouldn't pretend to. But you've said in all your time, 18 years isn't a long time to have that much information on how parties run and things. How long have you been playing in the political sphere?
Since he was 5.
Since you were 5.
He's just a child.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's a child. I'm not going to take the piss out of him like that. But I mean, to make claims that like, well, over all my years, I haven't seen, like, really, you haven't got that many years. I've got 20 years. I've got 20 years on you, and I'm still not old. Thank you very much for those who think I'm old. There. Shh. But no, look, David, and the national executive have had a big falling out. Right? There's no if, buts, or maybes. And David was the face of the party for many years. That's not questionable. It's not up for debate. They did it in the public spectrum. The couple of members of the executive and David that were arguing all the time, I suggested we have a charity boxing match and we, let them duke it out and get back and solve the problem. But overall, the direction of the LDP is actually quite good. I've got full confidence in where the national executive is starting to shape up and head. Now, I've been in the party on the fringes for 5 years, and then the last 4 I've been very active and involved from New South Wales. And fair enough, the voting numbers dropped. Of course they did. There was a whole bunch of shitstorms with David. The Sarah Hanson-Young tantrum, caused every upset feminist with a wet dream in the country to chuck a tantrum. And that caused an awful lot of problems. Of course, there's no doubt that it did. To be fair, his challenge of Sarah Hanson-Young, while I don't necessarily agree with how he went about it, I certainly, the principle behind it, I've got no problem with. Now that caused a shitstorm, that caused a big drop, and to be fair, that probably cost David the election. It was a lot of bad press. Things didn't go particularly well, and it was a shitstorm of timing. It was ridiculous. And the infighting between the national executive and the face of the party, of course, it's damaging. Now, our head office always was in New South Wales. Now, obviously, because that came with David's federal funding. Now, we've got the 2 MLCs in Victoria. Our offices in the last few months has moved from having our central headquarters in New South Wales down to Victoria. So I would actually expect to see a jump in numbers from New South Wales to Victoria to a degree. There's got to be some correlation with where your home base is to where your supporters are. And the reflection is obviously there's 2 MLCs. Now, New South Wales is in a period of complete transition. There's no doubt about it. Duncan Spender was the senator that took over David's federal seat for, 12 minutes before, obviously, the election, and he didn't retain his seat. So he was David's number 2 for many years. So there's a whole reshuffle, particularly in the New South Wales branch and area. The president we currently have has been there for 2 years. Well, this is his 2nd term. Now, I have full faith in him as an individual and as a leader. Now, he's had some barneys with some people, and that's called being a libertarian. If you've been in a room with 2 libertarians, they're going to argue about a million things. That's the whole broad church of it, is because we don't all agree with everybody on everything. And our current leadership is moving forward, and it's moving forward at a scarily fast rate. I had my concerns. Andrew Cooper's our new national president. I had my concerns. I mean, I don't know the guy that well, or I didn't know him. I've got to know him better. Seems like a good guy. He's heading in a positive direction. Funding's dropped, but the proactive nature of the party's increased. We were running blood drives in New South Wales over the weekend. We had volunteers out. We had people working. We haven't dropped the ball. We got a couple of black eyes in the fight, but in no way, shape or form have we dropped the ball. And I can tell you there's a committed group of libertarians who do believe, look at that, you've changed the screens, who do anything with me on it's got to be good. But did I say that out loud? So pretty.
Very pretty. I don't know. I feel like that might be more.
And to be fair, Samraat, in your interview with there, I wasn't actually even upset so much that you had the audacity to sort of trash talk another party. I mean, everyone trash talks the Greens. That's fair enough. They make their bed, they can lie in it. But your understanding of the inner workings are very limited. It would be like me saying to you, oh, well, the CDP does X, Y, and Z. I don't know Fred Nile. Wouldn't know if he fell over him other than Dia waving his, the newspaper around. I don't know how he works. I don't know how he operates. I know that there was a big feeling in the LDP that it was time for David to step down, step aside. Some were a bit more forceful in trying to push David. Some were a bit more hoping that he'd ride out on a golden chariot in his own sort of time, like do the respect a man who's done the work for our party that would deserve. And to be fair, I'd like to think that you and Joel were hoping for the same thing for Fred. Look, I've been here for however long. The problem with killing the king is you've got to have somebody ready to replace the king. Otherwise, you've got a power vacuum and you've got a shit fight on your hands.
But that's irrelevant to the LDP. What you're saying now is not on topic necessarily.
Well, no, it is very relevant to the LDP. We lost David Leyonhjelm, who, for all figuratively speaking, was the king of the party. Now, I'm not saying that he was the best person the party's ever had. I've actually been very critical of David reasonably publicly through the years, but he was the figurehead of the party. Now, to replace him, you need to have those capable of stepping in those shoes. It's all well and good to go, yep, he's been there too long, bugger him off. That's great, no problem at all. What do you replace him with? What capabilities do they have? What direction are they leading? Will they hold firm to the principles of the party? Obviously, the CDP has a code of ethics of some sort that you guys like to follow, and hopefully, I hope you believe in it. But what we didn't have was a really strong succession plan for what was going to happen when David Leyonhjelm was no longer a viable upfront candidate. And that could be argued that it was partially David's fault for not wanting to give up the crown, and it was probably partially the executive previous and not so much current, because that all happened. There was a big changeover. Mate, the LDP is alive and kicking. There's no problem there. I don't know what state poor old Fred's in. How did your coup end up? What was the final result? Did Samraat and Joel end up president, vice president of the CDP, or what result did you actually get other than obviously a little bit of publicity? I don't know, 12 seconds of fame. What was the result? It's easy to go, I want to overthrow the king, but what was the plan? What's the next step? How do you get to the next step, and what progressive movements need to happen, mate?
Yeah, so we'll keep on topic with the LDP, and perhaps we can debate the outcome of CDP at a later date. So go back to the point you made about my age and, what experience do I have in politics? And you're right, what experience do I have? I'll say age is just a number. So this 19-year-old that you're questioning the kind of experience of has gotten...
your age. That wasn't Dean. The one that called you a child.
No, Dean did mention what experience I had in politics.
Yeah.
Just to put in context, I've gotten better coverage, or more coverage than your entire party in the last year, except for David Leyonhjelm, an out-of-touch old man who couldn't even get 2% of the vote against a party that loves rabbits. And that's what the LDP has to offer. The LDP is offering out-of-touch old men who can't even get more votes than rabbit parties. That's the LDP for you.
Yeah, but you got some hang on, you got some media coverage. Hooray! That doesn't. Are you trying to be famous, or are you trying to manage politics? Are you trying to further a cause for your party and your beliefs, or do you want to be on the Kardashians? What's the story?
The point is.
Keep going.
The point is that I've achieved more than your party has in getting any publicity at all, in the sense of what I stand for. And your party's been failing at that miserably. And all the coverage of your party from The Age, from Fairfax, from The Australian have been negative and pointing towards a toxic culture in the LDP. And that's why no one likes
Does anybody read The Age?
Let me finish, Dean. This is the issue. See, no. Dean is a great example of why people don't vote for the LDP and why people vote for the Animal Party, right? Because animals don't talk back. Animals don't talk over you. Animals don't keep interrupting. And that's why people rather vote for animals than the LDP. And that's the issue, is that the LDP just talks to the Australian people, dictates to them, and doesn't understand the people at all. The LDP has policies like conceal and carry. you're not going to get the city vote with conceal and carry. It's an absurd policy. I looked at your website. Your top 3 campaigns are legalizing cannabis and legalizing vaping. You're not going to win by legalizing vaping. It's your policy sheet and everything you put on a pedestal as your standard is, your policy list is a list of reasons not to vote for the LDP. That's as simple as I can put it. When people read your policies, they just read every reason why they should vote for the Greens, or they should vote for Labour, or they should vote for Liberals. The LDP is completely out of touch, and it's a party of angry old men.
Yeah, old white men. Yeah, I get it.
And no, I'm serious. If anyone in the comments has ever been to, especially New South Wales, a New South Wales LDP state council, okay, that is the most toxic thing I've ever seen. You've got executive members swearing and shouting down other members and just calling them horrendous, heinous names. So if that's the way a party state councils run, I don't know how the fuck you can reform your party.
Can you tell me? Hang on. Oh, hold up. When were you ever at an executive meeting or a state branch meeting? I've never seen you. People
record it. People record it.
Yes. We're under this game.
We need the Bible.
Bible. It's all right, darling. It's all right.
No. I mean no offense, Dean, but I'm serious when I say that.
You guys weren't offending each other.
But if you can't conduct your state council meetings in a civilized manner in which members can raise issues they have without being called names and without being shouted down and sworn at, how are you going to reform your party with this national review coming up?
I'm fairly sure I know which meeting you're talking about. I'm fairly sure I know who recorded it and who gave you the recording. And like this, and I wouldn't mind betting it's the same one who told you that I'm thick as a plank. Which is all well. Frigs that. Which is all well and good, mate. I don't mind that. I actually agree. Vaping's not one of my top issues. Legalising cannabis isn't one of my top issues, but you will notice that the ACT just got it up. Lowering taxes, limiting regulation, and removing government from our day-to-day lives is the core 3 principles. Now, you're right, and that's why the National Executive is having the review, and that's why they're doing the upgrades and all that sort of stuff, is because the policy was off. Of course, it was off. I don't vape. I don't smoke dope. And I couldn't give a flying monkeys about conceal or carry. I don't do any of that.
Don't personalize the debate, though. Okay, don't have. Yeah. If you want to and you think you can handle it, then do so. But I don't want any of you messaging me after saying, "Wow, he was such a dick." Like, if you want to personalize it, go for it. But don't if you just be careful.
I'm not personalized. I'm just talking about the cultural thing in the LDP.
Yeah. It's up to you.
I mean, we saw the meeting where you and Joel sort of chucked your tantrum in the culture of the CDP. And if anybody's going, why are you talking about a different party? It's relevant because it's Fred Nile in comparison to, which is the CDP, Christian Democrat Party, versus the LDP. So we do have to keep the whole idea is you can't say go off topic. The topic is
if we compare the 2 meetings, an average LDP meeting compared to the meeting which Joel and myself moved motion at Goulburn. Let me just finish. So if you compare those 2 meetings, the culture there. So I would argue that the meeting that we moved the motion was the most out of order meeting the CDP has ever had. And if you've seen the videos, the most out of order it got was someone dropping someone else's flag and someone else yelling, "This is a Christian meeting." That's as aggressive as it got.
Bibles at 10 paces.
CDP. Was it, sorry?
Bibles at 10 paces.
Yeah, that's as toxic as the CDP got. And I'd argue that even young liberal state councils are more civilized. And I've seen some ugly speeches and debates happen there, but never does it degrade to ad hominems and personal attacks and just shouting matches where you just shout down other members and call them names and don't really listen to what they say. And it's
are you getting
the LDP is
source, or are you getting what you're saying, Samraat, from one specific source, from one specific?
No, there are conservative commentators across Australia that I've spoken to who've had issues with the LDP, with members of the LDP being very toxic, and I'm not going to name them, but there are not just the one you're talking about, Dean. Like, that's one of them, but there are many other conservative commentators who have said that the LDP is very, very toxic, and that's why I think that people don't want to work with the LDP or vote for the LDP or have anything to do with the LDP, because it's got a very toxic culture where it's our way or the highway, and it's kind of, we know what's best for the country. You know what you're talking about. Freedom for us and no one else, kind of a thing.
Okay, so your argument right now, what you are claiming right now, is that the LDP, generally speaking, is very toxic. However, unlike the CDP, the LDP does have different people in 3 different states in Parliament. Yeah. So doesn't that fact alone already negate everything else that you're stating?
No. The Australian Conservatives had 22,000 members across the nation, right? They had, what's his name, Corey up in the Senate. They had someone in Victoria, I believe. They had members all around. Yeah. And what happened to them? Overnight, they just vanished. And why is that? Because they had the exact same toxic boardroom culture that the LDP has. And that's just the fact of it. It isn't, you can, and you talk about membership being extremely active and what have you. Now, I've tried to look through your Facebook pages for rallies, for good large groups of LDP supporters doing something. I haven't found any. I haven't found any photos of large events. You had recently the cannabis event, but aside from that, where are these LDP members you speak of? I can't find them.
Where are they? I don't keep tabs on them. I have a job, you see. I work.
I'm trying to say, but for the public, when the public looks at the LDP, they want to see memberships. They want to see events and rallies and forums, right? And they don't see any of that. They just see, all they see is what the media says, and what's that, Margus? If the LDP is found on the premise of centrism and live and let be, what's exactly that sums it up.
That's a simple question. And if you saw my New South Wales, I actually didn't. I did reasonably well numbers wise in the federal election.
Yes, you did. Like the greatest campaign manager in the world.
Yeah, I know. Rob's fantastic. But in the New South Wales one was the only one I actually did any promotion type stuff, and we did a couple of articles. And I'm not involved in politics because I have any wet dreams about being a politician. I'm in it because I do not trust the 2 major parties. I agree. I do not trust the Liberal Party, who are supposed to technically be somewhat in line with where, the description we get is the LDP is where the Liberal Party was 20 years ago, give or take. The bottom line for me is I do not trust where they are now. There are some really cool Liberal Party people. So, and I've got some friends who are in the Liberal Party. I don't go, oh, you're all evil. I'm not a collectivist like that. But, and the lefties as well. I do have some lefty friends, and not so many of them are in politics. Most of those people are out in civilized society, living. But for us, we're here to try and hold them accountable. I don't think you'll find too many libertarians that go, oh, I really want power for me. What they're doing is they're going, I really don't want power. I just don't want I don't want a gun to my head from either the Liberal Party or a gun to my head from the Labor Party. I want to go and have my own guns out in general life, and I'm not a shooter for argument's sake. But, I want the freedom to do that. Now, what I do know is if we don't fight for that freedom and we don't somewhat hold these people accountable, these guys they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to continue to let them do whatever they like. King of New South Wales, I'd be an excellent King of New South Wales. Thank you, Port Film Co-op. But mate, that's the bottom line is very few true libertarians have any desire to be powerful and have any desire to tell other people how to live. I've got no interest in telling people how to live at meetings or not at meetings or anywhere else. I'm in it to try and hold these people accountable. And the LDP, from a principled perspective, now I can't speak for every single member of the LDP, and I wouldn't be arrogant enough to even attempt to. I think I've got a reasonable supporter base within the LDP. Some people like me, some people don't, and that's all right. But that's why we're in. We're here to hold them accountable. We wouldn't really want to be in power anyway, other than to basically throw most of the rules that are telling you what you can and can't do in the bin.
Okay. So Heckler has a question for, I suppose you, Dean. I'll get it back on track to the debate in a second, but I think taking questions is good because they disappear on StreamYard and then I can't get them back up on the screen. So we'll take a few now, and then we won't, and then we will, and then we won't. So what is your stance, or the LDP stance, on immigration?
The LDP stance on immigration. We've got a couple of policies in and around it, and you'll find every member's got a slight personal twist on it. Again, that's the whole key of libertarianism. We were talking about immigration at, funnily enough, the last meeting that I think is the one that Samraat got to watch the video of. And you know, yeah, one of our more senior members, I think he was the 23rd, 24th member, did a bit of a talk about the policy, and it involves a completely different take, more of a buy-in type system. Meet a lot of requirements, but you've got to meet requirements based on, as opposed to sneaking in. We still want people to come in legally. We want them to show that they will make good, useful citizens. And we do have issues with anybody getting welfare from overseas. So, I mean, it's a broad policy.
It sounds a little bit. It sounds like you guys are too open to immigrants. Don't you think some might in the country?
No, I want you two on the next plane out of here, right?
Exactly.
Who would I talk to on what day is today? Sunday night. If I didn't have you and Samraat to chat with at this late hour.
Margot.
No, look, as a policy, the first thing that, I'd talk to Margot. Margot's great. But look, as far as hecklers, you know, the official policy is on the website. Feel free to check it out. It does have a lot of information, and it's far more informative than I am. I'm not a policy wonk. That's not what I do. But it does involve people who sort of obviously can afford to sort of almost buy their way into the country, as long as they meet the character tests that we sort of would put together. And you've got to be of character. You'd have to come in and work and be productive.
Sure.
And we just don't want people coming over here and collecting welfare because Australia is a reasonably wealthy nation. We think people should come and earn their keep.
All right. So Samraat, there's a question for you on the screen.
Fred Nile founded a great Christian party. Was it really necessary to take him down? That was mean. There's two misconceptions in that. Good question, though. The first is that Fred founded the Christian Democrats. And he didn't actually found it. It was founded by a group of Christian ministers who then had Fred run as their lead lead upper house candidate after their first preference as a woman dropped out. And the second is that we attempted to get rid of Fred, which isn't true. We attempted to get rid of everyone on the board so that we could have a new board to start over. So Fred will still be in Parliament doing this parliamentary thing. And what we're doing is just conforming to normal party procedures across the world, which is that you don't have sitting members of Parliament on your party board because it creates conflicts of interest that ruin party policy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I've spoken to Fred as well. I've spoken to Fred after it all. And Fred and I are on very good terms, but the media made it look like we hate each other. So on that point, Margot can rest assured that there's no ill will between us.
Margot's a simpleton. Just kidding, Margot. Relax.
Is Margot a simpleton as well? That means two of us, huh? We'll be all right, you and I.
She's not. She's great. I have to retract that because she'll get offended. Aussie Life asks,
don't have too much fun. This is supposed to be a debate.
Exactly. Let's get personal again. Come on. Knives out. LDP stands
I've got a kitchen fork.
Yeah, kitchen fork, whatever works.
Climate change is a huge scenario, obviously, and the policies all, you know, like climate change is a question that's this big for a topic that's this big. As far as power generation, sorry?
Give a quick rundown.
Yeah. Look, we're pro coal and we're pro nuclear. We're very sort of keen to see nuclear power utilised in Australia. We think the nuclear ban's foolish. Now, in saying that, what we don't want is taxpayer subsidised. We want it to be open market. So, you know, if coal's the cheapest and most affordable thing to keep Nana's lights on, she should be allowed to use coal power or nuclear power. And you know what? And I had a debate during the election with a lovely Greens lady, and she's a really nice lady. And she was getting very emotional, as Greens ladies do, when it comes to climate change and power and things. And we've got to have wind farms. And I've got no issue with wind farms. I've got no issue with smoke signals. I couldn't give a monkey's how we get our power. I want everyone to have heat and electricity and water and be able to watch the Arsenal game when it's on because it's very important. Be able to watch YouTube when Dia's doing her shows. But it shouldn't be taxpayer subsidised at all. It's under the free market principles. And of course, we don't go, oh yeah, let's use the dirtiest and nastiest products available. We want to use the best and the most efficient. Now, if that happens to be nuclear, we think that's what we should go with. If it happens to be coal, until we find a more viable solution, then we should be sticking to coal, or we start to transition and do a bunch of both. It's got to you got to mix the practical with the wet dream. It's all beautiful to go, we're not going to have anything, everything's going to be renewables, and then we're all sitting around in the dark going, how the hell did that happen? And we saw a lot of that happen in South Australia over the last couple of years. They're the greenest state in Australia, for argument's sake, and they've had a nightmare keeping the lights on. I don't think. Sorry?
How dare you?
Yeah, that poor kid. That's child abuse, the poor little darling. Sure, she's a nice kid, but I feel bad for her too. You know,
I think
like
she's an actress. I don't think any of it's real. I think she's a plant. But anyway, so I didn't mean to interrupt your point. Finish it off. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. She probably is a plant, but she's still a kid being used. Yeah, and that's sort of how we take climate change. The science is there's science that something's going on. How much man has to do with it, and again, that's where you check the party's policies versus my individual thought process on it, because the beauty of libertarians is we all hold our own individuality. I don't expect anybody else in the Libertarian Party to agree with me 100% on anything ever. There are certain founding principles. We will never argue for higher taxes, or we will never argue that the government should have more say over your life. There's nothing the government is going to do for you that you aren't capable of doing for yourself. That's sort of, I think, a base principle. And then the other thing we sort of live off as one of your commandments is, you know, do as to others. Well, we just have the no harm principle. If you're not hurting anybody, yeah, it's the same thing. No harm principle is the same as do as to others as you want them done to you. You know, it's the same it's the same principle. And the LDP's strength is its principle. Now, its weakness is probably some of its personalities. There's no argument there. So for Samraat to talk about a toxic culture, yeah, there are some massive personality clashes because it's such a broad church and they will collide at times. It's inevitable. If everybody in the Greens agrees because they're all waving the same little placard, we're all going to die in 12 minutes. Very easy to agree with everybody when that's the case. When you've got, and another problem with most libertarians, most are far more intellectual than I am or I will ever be. They are a very, very intellectual type of human. I don't have that superpower. But what also happens when you're really, really intellectual is you spend a lot of time debating ideas, and it gets heated because they are intellectual. They're not idiots just yelling at each other. These people, most of them have more degrees and bollocks at universities and whatever than I could even think about. And I sort of admire them for it, but I also watch some of the personality clashes, and it makes me go, oh shit, really? But I can understand why, because they are extremely intellectual, the base libertarians that you get. And there's a lot of people who think they're or don't realise that they're libertarians yet, or they'd like to be, or they're like Dee is a soft libertarian. We've worked that out over a period of 12 months.
I'm very much a conservative, and I'm happy to park my car there.
Of course. And there are plenty of libertarians that call me too conservative.
Sure.
I get, oh, well, you're, you know, and I don't really consider myself right wing, but I do get lumped in with the right wing, and I kind of go, well, really? You know, I don't know how that is, because I just kind of want you to leave me alone. I want to go and buy an island, sit on it, drink beer and watch the football. That's kind of my little utopia. But yeah, that's what you see in LDP. So, yeah, God, mate, you're right. There have been some heated meetings, no doubt about it. And I don't think I've ever seen any name calling, not really, in any of these meetings. Not that I would call it name calling. There's been a couple of accusations, and again, that comes down to people being a little more soft and sensitive than they probably should be. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Bullshit. And you know, I'd like to see them all toughen up a bit, strengthen their arguments a bit, or strengthen their conviction, one or the other, and then sit down and have a discussion about it. I don't mind, have a beer.
Hey, can you guys?
Was his comment? Libertarians just talk and have meetings about meetings and target their own because they have no outside enemy.
I don't see that. Where is that?
Where's that one? I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Can you guys discuss that, what the Senator Slayer just said? I really need to go to the toilet. So can you guys talk while I go? I'll be right back.
More true.
I mean, make sure you wash your hands when you go, right? We don't want you coming back with dirty hands. I know it goes on with you young
Shut up. I need to go.
I've cleaned ladies' toilets before. It's terrifying.
Stop it. Okay, you guys talk about that, and then someone answer their other question about church and state. I'll be right back.
Well, you want to go first on that one, Samraat?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And I've sat with my libertarian friends at the pub, and all they talk is they just talk. They can't unify, mainly because most libertarians just happen to be people naturally lazy, and that's why they don't like to join any parties and get active. But yeah, libertarianism has no enemies. So there's nothing to unify around. There's nothing to rally people around. All they do is talk about freedom and gun rights and legalizing marijuana and every drug they can. And they've got no real foundational stuff that can get them elected. So they just sit around and talk. I think the reason is because libertarianism is in its nature almost like communism in the sense that it's against the government. It's against the idea of having a strong government. It's for minimal government, and some libertarians are for no government at all, the ultimate freedom.
Communism's about being controlled entirely by the government. I think you're very confused.
No. So the answer to communism is a stateless and classless society, which is completely free to do what they want and free
as long as the guy with the gun behind you doesn't tell you to do something. No.
So
you're talking about Karl Marx's wet dream again, as opposed to the reality of what socialism is, communism is.
That's the exact thing with libertarianism. So libertarianism and communism have one thing in common, and that's they look amazing on paper, right? Like I can read Karl Marx all day, I can read libertarian texts all day, and just see.
You can read it all day. You're a better man than I
am. But the issue is that communism relies on everyone being absolutely selfless, and libertarianism relies on everyone being as smart as you. And the fact is that not everyone's selfless, and not everyone's a genius, and not everyone's going to be able to live in a libertarian society. Everyone's going to want a bit more power over another person, and that's why you need strong governments to cull that.
But do you currently consider our government strong? Because I don't. I look at most of them, and that's for the last, at least since K. Rudd, John Howard, I still have questions about, but I was probably your age when John Howard thought he was in charge of stuff. And, you know, I'm still, you know, my thoughts on him at that time, my political views were evolving, I suppose. But from the K. Rudd stuff on, I haven't seen them and gone, oh, what a strong government, what great leadership we have. I see mismanagement everywhere we look. I see wasting public funds everywhere we look. As far as the Senator Slayer's question is, we do have outside enemies, but we do have a big issue with focusing on that, and we've discussed it before. Intellectually, we managed to make, and I'm not saying me because I'm probably down this end of the intellectual scale for the libertarians. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. But what we do have is a bunch of guys who are intellectually, our policies work. You're right. On paper they work. Intellectually they work. Intellectually, everything they put forward is brilliant. Now, principally, I hold the principles far more dear of the LDP than I do the policies, because policies change, policies evolve, policies move with the times. But we've got multiple outside enemies. We do struggle to tackle them forward, for sure.
And that's what enemy has.
Sorry?
What's one of the enemies that the LDP has, or libertarianism has?
Well, we have a little bit of enemy of everybody who wants conformity from government, big government. We don't want big government. It doesn't matter who whether it's the Labor Party or the Liberal Party, because let's be fair, the Liberal Party is no longer for small government. They say they are, but they're not. I resent having every inch of my life managed or dictated to by a government. You know, there are certain things that libertarians believe, and there's a few different types of libertarians. You got your Milton Friedman types who believe in certain levels of libertarian, and then there's the anarchists, and you get right into all these sort of things. This guy,
I'm just listening to
did your brain just explode, bro?
Who? Mine? No.
I'm just looking at what it says on the screen. But no, look, there's an awful lot of things that go on, an awful lot of things that happen, right, in political parties. Now, the things that we see are founding principles of the LDP are strong. And let's be fair, as other Christian Democrats, I believe, I haven't read all your founding principles, but Thea often tries to convert me to the good Lord. And I drink beer and sort of continue to not, But I do believe that everybody needs to have a code and they need to have principle. And if you're based in principle, the policies and things around it can grow, maneuver, develop. And with the Libertarian Party, Libertarians have natural enemies outside, which is just about everybody or just about nobody. That's the problem. Did you wash your hands, darling? That's the important question.
Smells nice and soapy.
Oh, no. That's terrifying. But I mean, look, and you're 100% right with the damage that the New South Wales team has hit in the last 12 months. What you don't know or what you don't see, and what most people who I'm suspecting you've been talking to. I joined or attended my first LDP meeting, probably as you did once with the CDP, probably 4 to 5 years ago, give or take. And I know wet dreams are fantastic. They're very popular. That's all right. But yeah, so look, I attended the first meeting, and funnily enough, it was at the Burwood RSL, and it was also I think it was 8 or 6 people were at this meeting. Now, the 6 to 8 people that were sitting on the row at the front of the room. Now, and there's a million different political views that'll. Yes, I like Ricardo as well, darling, but not sure how.
Ricardo's the Trump of Australia.
Do you have an Aussie Trump?
Oh, okay.
This is our Aussie Trump. Okay, keep going.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and look, I walked in and there was probably 6 or 8 people. I can't remember whether it was 6 the first month I went or it was 8 and then it was the reverse the month after, right? And I had the little executive and there was a president, a vice president, a secretary, and then there was three willing citizens sitting in the bleachers kind of going, I'll be fair, I looked at it and went, what in the friggin' hell is this? Is this for real? Is this a joke? Is this, what is the story? Now, in saying that, to be perfectly honest, now on average we get between 20 and 40 members to a New South Wales meeting. And again, I can't speak for the national executive or the other states because I don't attend all their meetings. Only so many hours in a day. But I've seen the active number of members go from between 6 and 10 to a consistent 20 to 40, which is a massive jump. Now, they're the active members who come to meetings. And the other thing that I've learned in this time is I'm getting better with social media because I'm not really, I play with it and whatever. But what I've also noticed is there's an awful lot of people who go online talking like they're members of this party, but I've never seen them at a branch meeting. I've never seen them at a branch event. I've never seen them show up. They sit on their little computer and they, oh, look at me, I'm a libertarian. And those people are the ones that I think you're getting most of your feedback from. Because it's very easy to sit around and do nothing and criticise those doing the hard work. Now, I had a little bit of respect for you and Joel, at least having the kahunas to have a crack at Fred when you weren't happy. It does take a certain amount of courage to have the balls to go, yep, I'm going to have a crack at this. But what has happened since is Fred still running the party? Is the same leadership in the party? And what is your and Joel's role within the party now? Did you achieve what you set out to achieve, or did you just sort of get semi-famous? Because I know, despite our problems with LDP, sorry,
what was it? Sorry.
Answer the question that Dean just before.
What part would you like me to answer first?
The end, where he said, "What did you get out of it? Is a Fred Nile still whatever?" Like, just answer that part.
Yep.
What has become of the CDP? Like, where do they stand currently? And then answer this.
Do
that first. Answer Dean, and I'll put that back up.
Oh, okay. Well, in terms of the CDP, we did achieve what we set out to achieve, which was to fully inform the members about the current state of the party and what was going on behind the scenes. And we did that. We sat down with all the members, branch by branch, meeting by meeting, and told them each one by one all the issues that were happening in the party with the leadership and executive, and then gave them the chance to vote on what they wanted to do. And unfortunately, the members that did attend the last state council meeting were just brought in like the typical stacks and stuff, and they voted to silence myself, and then they voted to keep the executive. And the members that wanted things to change were not able to come. And we saw that in 2011 where 3,000 members left the party, and we saw it again in 2018, and we saw it again after the August State Council, where another 200 members also left the party again.
A lot of drama.
So we did achieve what we wanted to achieve, which was to raise issues and give members an opportunity to say what they wanted to say and to have a vote. And there's still a lot more happening behind the scenes that I can't speak on. And
Sure.
by November, you'll see a lot more developments in the CDP. And I can assure you that by the end of a 2-year period, the CDP will be no more. And that is not in and of itself an achievement, because I don't believe that the CDP in its current state should be representing Christianity in politics with the type of culture it has.
But neither
the type of leadership it has.
party. So that means no party will be okay with Christianity. There's like
I mean, what was that? Sorry.
You ruined the only party that might have really represented Christ.
But how many Christians in New South Wales? Some would estimate 30% of the state is Christian. Some would say 40%. And of that percentage, how many voted for the CDP? 1 to 2% voted for the CDP, and that vote's been declining every election by election, right? So what that says to me is that Christians in our state don't see the CDP as being their party, which means that the CDP isn't a good Christian party, which means that it shouldn't exist in its current state and form. And Ricardo is an example of someone who's going to build a great party without the corruption, without the bullshit, and without all the bureaucracy and absolutely, yeah. And he's someone that I think if you're looking for a good conservative party with good moral values, a good wider centre party, that's where you should go. Go with Ricardo.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do some more questions. Too many intellectuals in a group create time wasting, debating things that don't matter. Spurgeon ratio needs to be 50-50. Do you guys know what that means? Because I actually don't know.
I mean,
sorry, I speak fluent, Senator Slayer, on that one. And you know what? I'd actually agree with him on that point. I see it at a lot of LDP stuff and libertarian stuff outside the LDP is they bounce far too many ideas, far too much talk, and we need far more action in and out of these things. I don't necessarily agree with the actions everybody takes in and outside of, but sometimes, you've got to actually get off your butt and go and do some work. And part of the problem with the intellectual types is they do think a lot and then they talk a lot. And eventually they've kind of got out and get out and go and do stuff. And it's the doing that's important. And, the ideas are great, but you've actually got to have doers as well. And, I think we're getting a good balance between that. And that causes some friction as well. Because you've got people like, I'm sure there are some libertarians that look at me, shake their head and think, what in the friggin' hell are we doing with this guy anywhere near the party? Because I don't fit the libertarian mold. But I'm fairly effective at getting things done. I'm not pro-cannabis as such. I'm not a cannabis user in any way, shape or form. But we kicked off a reasonably, and you both were there, and it was a reasonably fun, informative event that
it went too long, but it was a fun
event.
It
probably went for a bit long. There was some lady there that asked too many questions. and all the stuff, but all that's, those sort of things are where somebody like myself who goes, yeah, screw it, let's just do it, versus let's debate it for the next 6 months. I sort of look at it and I go, you know what, you've got to get that right balance. And the CDP has obviously lost some of its balance. I don't know the inner workings of it. I don't pretend to. I mean, that was probably where I chipped you because you sort of made out like you knew what was going on in the LDP, and I suspect you're only getting hyperbole. This was in your and Dia and Joel's interview when I first piped up. As for LDP pro speech, yes, actually, you're right. Anxious Aussie. I wasn't necessarily in support of Senator Spenders agreeing with that, but again, that's part of it. He was the guy in the top seat. He made the decision with whatever decision makers were there, and that was out of my control. I would have voted the other way and said, "Stick your censure up your backside." But again, I don't always get my own way, and that's one thing that certainly Samraat thought he was going to, and don't take this nastily, but you thought you were going to get your own way. You and Joel were going to see Fred, and you guys are all out because everybody's going to vote for you to get out, and it didn't quite go that way. Now, I sorry.
So apparently two toxic members have been removed from New South Wales, so the culture is evolving. So apparently, recently you guys kicked out someone who was
We've recently had 2 state executive members who are no longer on the state executive.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we don't kick people necessarily out of the party. They can choose to leave. It would be very unlibertarian to turn around and go, "You're banned forever." You'd have to work pretty hard to be banned.
So it doesn't imply.
They've been removed from the New South Wales, yeah. So they're no longer sitting in on New South Wales state executive meetings. And look, in saying that, the two members, because I'm sure they're keeping an eye on. This is my personal view on both of them. Both of them had a certain level of strength and a certain level of weakness, and they both got to the point where being in the same room and on the same executive as each other was damaging to them, damaging to everybody else on the board, everybody else in the audience, because I spent the night after the last couple of weeks answering questions from members going, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah.
And I can't. Unlike some parties, I don't puppeteer board members or anything like that, or committee members or senators. But there were two people there who were reasonable contributors in reasonable ways to a level before the bullshit started. And when the bullshit got too much, we had to navigate a way through it. You can't just go lopping people's heads off. It's a committee, and it needs to be discussed and debated, and people need to put their cases forward. And I think it was a messy way to do it, because the 2 members that were being toxic made it messy. Neither of them would listen to anybody else on the executive go, "Mate, you probably should step back, give it some thought, consider this," or we can only make recommendations on how people behave because we don't believe in controlling people. Now that's how that all ended up. Who's this? Or what about you? What was your question, Kenji?
Ken, you wanted to know about the separation of church and state. What did the two? I can't bring the question back up because it doesn't allow me to.
Okay.
Now. Yeah. So do you both want to answer that?
You want to go first, Samraat, or would you like me to?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I do believe in the separation of church and state. I think
Well,
it's a great thing.
Church is more down your alley than mine.
Atheist.
So the state has its role, which is to maintain order, to promote the welfare of its people. And the church has its role, which is to promote religion and faith and
morality,
religious morality. And if you combine the two, if you have the state running the church, the state will corrupt the church. And if you have the church running the state, then the state or the church will forget its purpose, which is advancing the kingdom of God. So you can't have the two together because it just forms shit shows.
Yeah. Dean, what do you think? Do you agree with that? I actually think Samraat.
Yeah. I think we're sort of on the ball there. I'm not against organised religion as long as it's doing good work as opposed to lunatic, stupid work, shootings and whatever. If your God's telling you need to go out and lop somebody's head off, you're probably praying to the wrong bloke or woman or transgendered monkey or whatever it is nowadays. I can't keep up. Yeah, Hogatha possibly. But yeah, look, the two need to be very separate. I think faith is something that's personal. I know obviously we all get it. But for the record, we all get along quite well here. We just have some political differences, and we're happy to discuss it. There's no real disdain here for anyone.
You're a bad husband.
I'm the best ever. But in saying that, I really don't think the two should cross over at all. I think politics is politics. We just need less politicians. We need less political parties. And to be fair, I think the right kind of when the church is putting forward good morals and good whatever, I've got no issue with it. Now I don't share the same faith you guys share, but I certainly don't berate anybody that does. Or the Islamic faith or anything else, what you believe in's up to you. But if it's promoting good positivity, working together, charitable causes, X, Y, and Z, then great. But the two shouldn't be anywhere near the same room.
Okay, that's good. Anxious Aussie apparently asked a question. I don't know what it was, but it's about how the party plans to update its policies, but they got no real answer. So is the LDP planning to update its constitution on the website or anything like that? Or
I did mention when we got started earlier that the National Executive has actually put out a survey and gone out to members. So, as I said earlier in the piece, we're in a massive period of rebuilding. And when I say massive period of rebuilding, the guy that's been running the show, and some would say in a dictatorship style for a certain amount of years, which sounds very unlibertarian, I agree. But He's now sort of stepped back out of the picture. Some say he was forced, some say he wasn't. Samraat said he read about it in the paper. Fantastic. But the new president, Andrew Cooper, is a pretty proactive guy. He's a likable guy, and he's actually made this. He's actually made it his mission to work out how to get the intellect of the libertarian with the heart of the people, and that's the difference. That's probably where we fail. We're doing the surveys. We're going to do the sit downs. They're going to have a few meetings together and go, okay, these are the strategies we need to move forward, and then work out how to tackle it with the base membership that we've got, and then develop it from there. Now, there are certain things. I mean, you're right. The conceal and carry. I don't even see why that should be a policy. That's not a policy that's going to get anybody elected. It's extra typing on the website. But that's just my.
I have a gun. Like, I'm in Victoria. I'm in a state where we can't have any weapon. I can't even hold on to a cricket bat for fear of someone saying, "Oh, she was walking with a cricket bat. It's like she was prepared." That's illegal. So I would love to conceal and carry a gun.
I think some people would. I think everybody should be allowed to protect themselves too. If self-defense, if you attack me, let me tell you how you get out of that's your business. No problem. I'm not saying I'm unstoppable, but what I am saying is I'm not going to just let you. I'm not going to be a victim. And I don't think anybody should be in a position where they feel they have to be a victim. And that's part of where we're sort of going with this. Is my view on conceal and carry is it's a non-viable policy. It's a bit stupid even having it there, in my opinion. But then there's another 40 members who go, hey, guess what? We really want it. We're very passionate about it. And that's one of the challenges we face as a party, is there is such a broad spectrum of policies. Now, if you look at our range of policies compared to most other smaller parties, we cover almost everything. We've got a thought process for just about everything. Now, not all of them are the most efficient, I wouldn't say. But again, I'm the guy out, doing and whatever. These are the guys who I think we jokingly call them policy wonks. I think that's the politically incorrect name for political correctness. But that's kind of what they do. They come up with these policies, they think about it all, and then we go and see what we can do to make it either work, make it viable, or we go, why is that even in the book? But then if you speak to people who are in the Liberal Party or the Labor Party, and I can guarantee you 80% of them have no idea what their policies or principles are. They just follow the party line. And I think I think following the party line just for the sake of the party line, it's like lemmings walking off a cliff. At least the Libertarians will argue, debate, and hold strong opinions, right, wrong, or indifferent, and they'll argue about it. And I've seen some call each other, out at the pub, you're a shit libertarian. Actually, the purity test for libertarians is the funniest thing you'll ever see. I'm more of a libertarian than you are because I'm what?
Everywhere I do it. I don't do it as a Christian, but as a Christian, I can't help and compare my I've got to get trapped in this phrase. But basically, there is whilst I disagree with people going, I'm more libertarian than you, or I'm more Christian than you. I don't like that, but there are certain things that make you, if you're a conservative, right, and you're pretending that you are a better conservative than everyone else, and you're calling someone a degenerate or whatever, or you're, I don't know, or as a libertarian, you claim to be all about free speech, but then you bar someone from speaking at an event or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? There are certain factors that make you something. Like, for example, if you are a lefty, you are for open borders, there's pretty much a template. There's a template for libertarianism. There's a template for conservatism. So whilst I agree with you that there shouldn't be a competition with I'm more libertarian than you, I'm a better Christian than you, there is a template as well. So I sort of understand.
Of course. You're trying to fit into a certain niche. That's how we get into these groups. Samraat obviously found the Christian Democrat Party because he went, okay, I have certain beliefs. I have an interest in politics. Which party will fit my personality best and my goals best? And that's where I suspect that's how you came across the Christian Democrat Party. You've moved into this political sphere with, as you get older and you learn stuff and you pick up on stuff and you do whatever. And as I went along and certain things went along, I went, Jesus, it's time I start looking into politics. Where is going to be the home for me? Now, as a kid, I always thought I was a member of the Labor Party. Always. My father was, you're a worker. we work hard in our family. We do da-da-da-da, and the Labor Party is for the worker. And then as I got a bit older, I started to, read a bit more and thinking for myself. And I also went into business for myself when I was 23. And I went, hang on a minute. None of their policies make any sense to me at all. Hang on, I think I'm actually more Liberal Party. Oh, hang on. And that was a big step over for me to move over to there, to then get in and around the Liberal Party where you're sort of going, hang on, that doesn't resonate either, because they still want to dominate me, you, individuals. They still want to control that level of individuality, and they want to control how much we as people can operate. Now, that's when I sort of came across the LDP. Now, I looked at the LDP, and actually I originally got involved in the LDP. I wanted to know about, funnily enough, this family law stuff that Pauline Hanson's just brought up. This was 4 or 5 years ago, I was sort of thinking about some of it, and I sent out a list of questions to senators to see what their response would be as to which political party I would consider. I want to see what response they would come back with. And most of them.
Shorter? Sorry, Dean.
Sorry?
Can you try and make your answers a bit shorter?
Okay.
Sorry, keep going.
Ryan Helm came back with the best answer out of all of them, and he said it's basically a clusterfuck, but he's not going to touch it, and he's not looking at it, and it's not really one of his pet projects. And I went, well, at least he's been honest in his response. So from there on in, I sort of thought, well, I'm going to go and check these guys out. And that was when I attended my first meeting with 8 people. And that was the state branch at the time. And the state president was there. And I thought it was a joke. I said to one of the guys, I was sneaking out the door. One of the party founding members, or certainly senior members, Peter Whelan, grabbed me and said, please don't run away yet. Mm-hmm. And we had a bit of a chat. So I agreed to come the next month. And 5 years later, I'm still here fighting for the LDP because I believe in their principles.
That's
far
good.
More than their policies.
That's why I agree with how you came to that conclusion. Okay, so with quick answers, with quick answers, please, guys. What are Samraat and Dean's views on UN enforced migration quotas for Australia? Try to answer it quickly. Go ahead, Samraat. You go first because Dean just
completely against enforced migration quotas. The UN is meant to be a forum in which nations discuss world issues, not a nation and a government in and of itself that imposes resolutions on sovereign countries. And every nation should have the right to determine its own immigration policy and not have it dictated to them by Saudis and Iraqis at the UN General Assembly.
Dean?
I've never voted for anybody in the UN in my life. I don't answer the UN. I will never answer the UN, so they can take their enforced migration quotas and take them back to wherever they like. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I'm a degenerate.
I've heard that about you, darling. Me too, though. I'm a deplorable degenerate, allegedly.
It's why I'm hated.
Oh, I don't hate you. I think you're all right for a girl.
You're all right.
You're all right.
You're all right. All right, let's have a look if there are any more questions.
Any other questions?
Samraat, numbers are correct if you look at the federal Senate result. First preference nationally 169,000, of which 89,833 New South Wales. Source AEC. What is that in reference to, the Christian statistics?
That's in reference to the LDP being a New South Wales-based party.
Gotcha. All right.
I don't think anybody would dispute those numbers or the fact that it's happened. I wouldn't mind saying though that politics does come with ebbs and flows with these small parties. You think about One Nation when Pauline Hanson sort of left the ship, they just about come unstuck, and now they're going quite strongly. So don't be surprised if you see LDP making strides along those lines over the next couple of years as well. We're not all going to just assume that it's doom and gloom.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know what this means.
Yes, we should deport him. Him and his attempts to get a disgrace to apes and apes' interests. Stotsky it's a meme. It's a meme in a political group.
Oh, okay.
Or online political forum.
I think we should have closing comments because we've reached the hour mark, a little bit over. I don't really know who won this debate, to be honest. Why don't you guys in the comment section let me know who you think really illustrated their perspective better, or based on the facts or whatever. Do you think the LDP will be dead in the next couple of years, or do you think that they're only going to continue to evolve and get stronger? Final comments. Samraat, you first.
Yes, I said it. The statistics speak for themselves. The LDP is on a trend of decline. It's got a culture that people don't want to be part of, and it's got leadership issues that are not going to take it anywhere anytime soon. And any attempts to reform it will end up the same way as they did with the CDP or Australian Conservatives or even Family First. One night the LDP will be there, the next night it won't.
Okay. Dean.
I've made my points pretty clear all the way through. Yeah, we've copped some black eyes in this last 2 years, I would say. Some big black eyes, some bleeding noses. But mate, we're not done, because I see the people, I talk to them. I'm the guy at the end of every New South Wales meeting that spends however long, chatting, meeting the people, and we see new faces all the time. And the reality of it is the party is going ahead. I actually have a reasonable amount of faith in Andrew Cooper and the current national executive heading in the right direction.
I reckon that too.
I'm not in that inner sanctum to know exactly how they rock and roll, but I'm getting more positive vibes out of the national executive than I've had out of them in the last 5 years that I've been in the party. And I know at state level, while there have been a couple of issues, the current president I have a lot of faith in. I believe he's a strong leader. He's certainly very intellectual. But he also seems to defer to me for a lot of the things that aren't on an intellectual basis. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That gives us what Senator Slayer was saying earlier about, your 50-50 bonehead versus bright spark. And despite the problems that we've had in the last couple of months with a couple of members and on the executive, which makes it even worse because they're at the top of the tree and they're usually the loudest and people notice them. I don't think that it's anywhere near an end game. This is actually, certainly from a branch perspective, the strongest I've seen New South Wales in active members since I've been involved in the party. So if I was the Greens in One Nation, I'd be looking at us to take the top or the third spot over the next 5 years.
Yeah. So Chris Coveries has said something. Why has this conversation been so personal? I didn't take it there. I can't control where the conversation goes. I can only moderate it back to the questions and I think predominantly what we've been talking about is the comment section. So the only personal part was the bit when I said, damn, and that was in the first hour. So in the first half hour, and then it. So do you guys have a response to this particular?
I didn't.
Huh? Who? What?
If we're going to get personal, Samraat's like an Indian Ken doll. Is that right?
What?
I just said you're like an Indian Ken doll. Is that how it works?
Yeah, personalize it. Go ahead.
Personalize it.
You're bold and ugly.
I got called a potato head the other day, so I'm not sure what that is, but that's all right. I'm not so sure that it's so personal, really. It has been all about the party. Samraat and I don't have any personal issues at all from what unless Samraat might think I'm a bit of a dummy or whatever, but I certainly don't. I've been called worse, mate. I've been called far worse. But I don't have any personal concerns with Samraat. I would question why somebody would actively go into a political party to sort of dismantle it, as Samraat has with Joel in the CDP. But your reasons for doing that's your business, and you've explained your.
I went into the party seeking to build it up, and the more I got involved, the more I saw how corrupt it was inside, and the more members I spoke to who had previously left, and that's eventually what happened. It wasn't me going in with the intention of, I want to join this party and dismantle it. It was me going in with the intention of, this seems like a great, healthy party. I'll actually be part of it. And I was part of it for 2 or 3 years. And at the end of that period, it was simply seeing that it isn't going to go anywhere. And that there was an opportunity to reform it or let it die, and we chose to reform it because no one else was. And there's still more.
Funnily enough, I would think it's disappointing that you've made the moves you've made, but now you're not still in the party. It's always sad because you obviously got a bit of get up and gumption to go and have a crack at something like that. Fred Nile, for a lack of a better word, has been sort of the king of the party for a long time. So it takes a bit of gumption to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and spear the king. You know, throughout history, it's always been a thing, you know, whoever does it. And you guys sort of showed the gumption to do it. But unfortunately, you're not there. You're not in that party now. You're not still working towards what you originally were. I think it's a sign of the modern times too. You just change jerseys. You know, like when things don't go your way, you know, people jump from Fraser Anning to Conservatives to Ricardo's new show to whatever. And, you know, and people jump from Liberal to Labor. I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, Turnbull at one stage was a Labor Party show, and then he went to the Liberals. And, you know, I said maybe it's because I am an old bonehead. I just look at it and go, it'd be nice for it'd be nice for a party like the Christian Democrats to have two guys like yourselves go, okay, well, we've picked our fight and we've lost. Maybe there's something we can learn from these guys, and then get to a point where we can then go, okay, now we're going to bring our reforms. Because reforms take time.
It's about, you know, there's two false comparisons. The first is that we kind of just left after we attempted to reform the party. That isn't true. There's been attempts by other members since I joined the party 3 years ago. It's been a 3-year journey of continuous attempts to reform it. And the difference between myself and many other people is that I choose my battles. I see, is it worth my time wasting the next 50 years of my life trying to stack the CDP or whatever people do, the Liberals and the LDP and the Greens and Labour, or is my time better spent outside of the party with like-minded people who are actually pushing for things I'm pushing for? And that's the issue, that people, they do what you said to do, which is, and Labour, Liberals especially, they go in, they plan out the next 80 years of their lives are going to be taking over branches and bringing reforms. And while they're busy wasting their lives in a lost cause, you've got people like the Greens, you've got people like Ricardo Bosie building up their great parties. They're going to wipe out the carcass that's there. And it's just about recognizing where you've lost your battle and then retreating and regathering your forces to take more ground.
No, 100%. Nothing wrong with copping a punch in the face, mate. We've all done it.
All right.
I don't know anybody who hasn't.
Let's move on. Does Australia have a deep state government? Because the US, it's so obvious. People like Soros are corrupting us. Yes, Australia has a deep state. Didn't like Jeff Kennett's daughter or like Paul Keating's daughter get found at some sort of pedophile?
Epstein Island. Yeah. Look,
we have 100%. A deep state, sure.
I'm convinced we have a deep state, and again, that's why the Liberal Democrats are there. We're there to pick that fight, be in the middle of the pair of them, and go, hang on, bullshit, not happening. You know, you guys aren't here to control us. We do not work for the government. The government works for us, and that's where everybody in this country gets very confused. Scott Morrison is my employee. He's your employee, and that's the bottom line. All these people work for us, and somehow they've managed to redesign it in the average Joe's head that we all that we're here to serve the government. The government is here to serve us. Other than that, it has zero purpose.
Yes.
It is here to serve the people what they want, what they need. But that doesn't mean give them what they need, but that means stay out of the way. Stop creating roadblocks for people getting what they need. Stop making it hard for Samraat to get a job. You know, like
personalizing it again.
It was a stir. We were joking about it earlier. But
we can personalize it because we're all friends. It's okay.
That's how I see it. But yeah, deep state governments, no doubt, mate, and that's what we're here for. Is we're here to hold these assholes accountable. I sat in a candidates forum. I told the Liberal lady that she was just stealing from the people to win votes or buy votes, and I told the Labor Party lady this exact same thing. I said, darling, you're promising money that's not yours to win votes. It's bullshit. And that's not how it works. We own you guys, not the other way around.
I'm just going to read the super chat. I know, Samraat, you agree that there is a deep state. I'm just going to read some of the super chats that I missed and that I can't bring back on the screen. So one of them was, Dean, as a libertarian, do you support propping up the steel industry in the face of Chinese imports?
No.
No. Okay, cool. And then there was, from Heckler, what's both their stances on abortion/infanticide? Well, I know that you, Dean, are pro-choice. Samraat, you're pro-life. So I feel like that answers that question pretty quickly. But what is your view on abortion?
In saying that, the late-term stuff recently has been a little bit fucking over the top. Obviously, you and I have been mates, and you've been teaching me a little bit about it. And as I learn more, my perspective changes. I'm still pro-choice, in that really early stage. But
Sure.
this late-term stuff is just psychosis. That stuff's not apples at all.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see what other things I can find. Senator Slayer, do you have any small hats in the party? If so, when will they be removed? I don't really know what that means, but do you guys want to answer that? I don't really know what that means.
Want to clarify that one?
I don't know. I can't tell when it's the super chat. I think people think I'm ignoring the super chats. I'm not. This program I'm using, I can't tell what's a super chat. Okay, let's go down. Oh, that's the one I already read out. Okay.
Oh, Jews. I think he meant Jews.
Oh, okay. Yep, I needed to go to the toilet. I did, and then I had to wipe myself. Then I had to wash my hands. Yep, and I pissed. I didn't poo. Just in case everyone wants to know.
That's lovely. As long as you washed your hands, I've already told you.
Sophie, it's my live stream. Let's have a look.
I don't think we, on the point of Senator Slayer's previous one about small hats, I don't think we have small hats in the party, but we do have Asian and Chinese assets in the CDP, and I believe the LDP might have one of those in one of its states. And I think many parties are struggling with the issue of Chinese assets in their executives and in their branches. So what do you think, Dean? Do you think there's a foreign influence problem in our parties?
Sorry, a foreign influence problem. No, look, I don't think we have a foreign influence problem. There was actually an accusation made a couple of weeks ago about a guy on a state executive that's, funnily enough, a foreigner of some background. But in saying that, no, we don't have a problem with that. We have a problem with people having big opinions, big ideas, and navigating the management of that.
I bet you the super chat is. I can't tell what's a super chat, dude. I can't tell.
That is. Where's it say that?
Getting a lot of hate. No.
Who hates me now?
No. I am. It's fine. I'm just looking through. I'm seeing if there are any more questions. I feel like no one listened to me. I asked them to write who won the debate, and no one's like letting me know, Dean or Sam.
Right.
Because I don't. I feel like you both. I don't know. Like, I don't know who's won, to be honest, because you both like presented relatively good points.
Well, to be honest, we're not going to know for another couple of years, really. What will end the game and tell the game at the end of the day is whether the LDP goes forward or it doesn't. Jews, what have Jews done now?
I don't know.
That was in regards to his previous
the small hats. Okay, now sorry, I don't spend all that much time thinking about Jews and hats and stuff.
Nor do I.
Yeah.
Here we go. How do you both see a future of cooperation between minor parties in order to see non-major parties pushed out? That's a solid question. Answer that.
Well, I mean, part of what we attempted to in the CDP and what is all going according to plan was, according to a few Harvard studies, minor parties, most major parties are composed of minor parties that unified and merged. And the problem is, minor parties don't want to merge and form coalitions, and they only do that once they lose elections and once they see that they're not going to win anything. And so what the plan is essentially to make sure that minor parties in the state and across the country realize that they're failing without working together, and slowly get them to form coalitions and work together to merge and take government. And in Canada, I think it was 20 years ago, you had left-wing parties dominate every single seat in the Canadian Parliament, except for one, which I think had almost 20 minor parties were all fighting over one seat. And I think around the year 2000 or 2005, they all formed a coalition and merged into the Canadian Conservative Party. First election cycle, they knocked out a major party. In second election cycle, they took government. And that's essentially what we need to do in Australia, is to get these minor parties to realize that they're losing without working together, and for them to come together and form coalitions and start merging so that they can take out these major parties that are essentially the same. They're just Liberal and Labor, one party, two names.
Dean?
I agree with you on all that. I've got no idea about your Harvard study. I can say that certainly at our most recent Cannabis as Medicine event, we had we had a One Nation candidate there. We had some Samraat there from, his political leanings. We had CDP members. We had One Nation. We had DIA. We had, I think we counted four different minor parties, people representative that were all in attendance, and we all get along quite well in an awful lot of ways. And I sort of agree with the concept of, we all need to work together. We all need to sort of be able to get along. I mean, we had Mark Latham, who's now gone to One Nation, but there's still an awful lot that we sort of agree with, and there's certain areas that we don't. I think that'll always happen. Bridge the gap between Dean and Samraat. I think he's in Sydney, so it's about an hour's drive.
God is the only thing that can bridge this gap.
You don't have to call me God. We get along well.
I've driven from your area, Dean, to your area. It's like a 1 hour and a half drive from one location to the other, which we won't say out loud.
It is, but look, I'm happy to sit down.
That's not what she means. I don't think that's what she means. How do you guys see a way to bridge the gap?
I think she means philosophically, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I think she means petrol.
Look, to be honest, we obviously had a bit of a chat at the cannabis event, and Samraat and I disagree on some things, and we have some very different principles. But overall, I think we're in the same spectrum. We're in the same sphere. It's not like we're going, I can't stand that guy, I want to wring his neck. I mean, we'll joke and laugh and whatever. And we had some earlier messages today where we were calling each other names, but overall, we're not that far apart. Yeah. I mean, there's certainly no hate or disdain, and as I said before, we get along with quite a few of the other minor parties. We talk to them kind of regularly, and it's just a matter of where do you bridge those gaps. And the gaps I find are with some parties, it seems like cannabis, it's like guns, it's like Christ, it's like, it's those bigger issues that how do you navigate the differences of opinion? That's where the challenge is. A white supermajority.
Should Australia remain a white supermajority? This is unrelated at all, but I thought because we're just finishing up now, I think Samraat, you've won, but not everyone. I haven't gone further down to see, but because Samraat, you're Indian, I feel like they're asking that question on purpose to trigger you, and I'm obviously Latina. I do stand by the position that Australia should remain predominantly white with a smaller minority of minorities. But what do you think of that? I'll have both of you answer if you can answer quickly. I can't hear you. Can't hear. Can you
hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Answer the question.
I don't think that we should artificially try to change Australia's ethnic makeup through mass immigration or forced immigration.
Agree.
And I don't think we should try to artificially stifle changes to Australia's ethnic makeup through natural immigration rates. So on that point, if Australia remains a white majority country for the next 100 years, I'm fine with that. But if through, natural immigration rates, people mixing, blacks marrying whites and whites marrying Irish people, because Irish people aren't actually considered white in some groups. If it just happens, Australia's ethnic makeup shifts naturally, I'm fine with that. I don't think we should be imposing it one way or the other.
What about you, Dean?
Yeah, look, I don't care what colour anybody is either. I either think they're a decent person or they've got some character values that interest me, or they don't. As far as the country goes, I'd like to see people who work, contribute, participate in charitable things, and generally decent people. I don't care if you're white, black, a monkey's uncle. It makes no difference to me whatsoever what colour somebody is. If you're an arsehole, you're an arsehole, and if you're here to contribute and participate and win, great, join on.
I do agree with that, by the way, but I do think that there's something special about preserving. What are you doing?
It's dead. Someone commented, "R.I.P. my AirPods. My AirPods died."
I can hear you though, so it's fine. Kenji, I am going to the March for the Babies. I will be vlogging it. I'm assuming you'll be there too.
Now you've cut out.
Margot says, "Leave the Jews alone."
Look, Jews are like every other thing, you know. I just can't eat a whole one. They taste okay, just can't eat a whole one.
Stop it! Stop it! Have you thought of making a minor party alliance? What, the LDP with the CDP does not work.
No.
That doesn't work.
In terms of other minor parties, I think it's a conversation that's been had multiple times. With the CDP, Australian Conservatives, we've had Liberty Australia or something. You've had a whole host of minor parties talk about potential alliances. It's just a matter of making sure that everyone has their shit together before we start to work together.
Yeah. So, Dean, apparently, Chris Coveries thinks you took it out this time. Senator Slayer thinks Samraat took it out. Margot thought that you took it out. So there's 2 against 1 so far.
I think the key area here is long term is a discussion that's going to improve the fortunes of Australian politics. I think that's the important part with the smaller parties. If they can get the, I don't think they'll ever agree on everything, but if you can get bits and pieces to agree, there are certain policies we can all agree on, and there are certain things that we'll just never agree on. The idea is to be able to work out how to do that and then execute it to hold the 2 big parties, which is essentially one party, accountable, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, Edwina, I was referring to this specific debate, not like Australia, but I see your point. I have a feeling I've seen Edwina's face before.
Yeah, you've met Edwina before.
Oh, I have? Yeah, I thought I had.
The only way to fix the problems is to sack all politicians. I wouldn't argue with that. Let's do it. I'm all in. Sack the lot. Start again.
Much of an argument. Okay, so Benjamin Molesworth, he's one of my moderators. It wasn't much of an argument. LDP has lost votes and members versus that doesn't mean anything. What else has there been? I don't really think that's worded properly. Do you understand the sentence? Because I don't.
Yes, we've lost some votes and we've lost some members. That's true. There's no arguing that. I mean, in comparison to is Fred dead? I don't know. I think Fred's still alive. We both won. Oh, the referee won. The game is the winner. No, bullshit. Anyone who says it doesn't matter if you win or lose is on the losing side.
Samraat.
Oh, Jesus, look at him go.
Samraat. I think Samraat won.
It looks like it.
Wow. These guys are going for the little Indian guy, not the white man. I'm surprised. No. This is a relatively right-wing nationalist audience.
Jesus, it's all happening.
You're doing it all wrong.
You need to be more racist, people. What? Who said that?
You did. Latina. Yes, I'm not Greek. I am Latina. Let's have a look. I think we're done. I'm just going to finish making sure that I haven't missed any questions. An hour and a half is long enough. I think next Sunday, my next debate is biblical. So for anyone who isn't a Christian, you might not be interested, but it's regarding the Trinity. Does the Bible confirm the Trinity? Just to answer Edwina's question about if that's what you meant. Otherwise, if you mean what's happening this week on my channel, I do have 2 videos coming out. One is my live stream that I have on Wednesday with this man, not with Fred Nile, but with the other one, this dude here, Bob Payne. And then I'm releasing a video about who is and is not allowed to vote, just according to my own little theory. So you guys probably won't like that because I say some not Nice things. I'm looking forward to the next debate. Just need to shorten the length of answers. That's Dean's fault.
Sorry, Terry. I talk too much, mate.
You do. You're like Christopher Shortis.
I'm not sure who's Christopher Shortis. Do I know him?
You do know him. We've spoken about him before. Dean won. Yay! There's a few. Press D if you like deer. Let's have a look. Oh my God, Kenji, you're such a loser. You know I don't like feet. All right, I think we're done. I appreciate everyone coming on today. It was really fun. Dia, read my question. Which question? It's really hard. Like I can't do. I don't know which question you're referring to, but I put up a lot of yours, SD. I have. Do you guys agree that 6 billion small hats died in the Holocaust? Oh my God! You guys don't have to answer that. And it
wasn't there.
I think it was
6
million, not 6 billion.
Not billion. And I don't think it was a million. I think it was far less than 6 million. But I don't even know why that's relevant to the debate, so I'm going to get rid of it.
I wasn't there at the time. It wasn't my fault.
Yes. But you think they taste nice?
Possibly, yes. I know how ovens work.
Oh my gosh, stop it. That's not a good joke. That's really bad.
If you're a chef, you're allowed to joke about ovens, right?
Okay, but yeah, it's true. But like,
I didn't start the context. That wasn't me.
No, that's true. When it comes down to it, they are failing to get votes. What can they do to find more votes? Appeal to the people.
They can change their policies.
Yeah.
Be a bit less libertarian, move up the scale, become more authoritarian.
Yeah, well, if we become authoritarian, that would defeat the whole purpose. But I do agree that our policies do need some reviews. There's no doubt about it, and that's what this upcoming thing's about.
Samraat won because he thinks that the answer is God.
So it's not about the colour of his skin; it's about his faith, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with having faith.
Well,
I don't have any. I just don't judge anyone who does.
You have faith. An atheist isn't an atheist on their own. Like they still have belief. You still have a belief in something. You must have faith in something, not God, but like you must have faith in your mum or trust or confidence in. You can't live your life without faith. It's just diverted to a different area, not government, obviously, which is good. You're one of those wiser atheists.
No, if the government should tell me what to do at all times. I need a barcode and I need to be dominated.
Yeah,
no,
I love Edwina's makeup. In terms of how you can tip me, you can send a super chat or you can send money to my I don't know. I don't really tell people to send me money. It's up to you guys if you want to do that, which I don't usually do videos encouraging that anyway. Like very rarely will I say, oh, and guys, I have a PayPal. I don't really push that because I don't like to, which is why I work.
Have you got a job there? That's fantastic. Well done.
Yes, let's not. Well, the left might be watching, so let's move right along from that subject, shall we?
That's all right. We'll tell them you work for one of my businesses, and therefore they're buggered because you can't get you sacked. It's impossible.
Okay. All right, I'm just going down. Dean by an inch rematch. Next one.
Rematch. I'm happy to chat with Samraat anytime and policy share and anybody, like it doesn't matter. That's the whole idea of these sort of things. If you can't share ideas, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, this is another question. I don't want to miss like a final. What are Samraat and Dean's views on 14 Jewish lobbies opposing changes to Section 18C? I don't even know about that, so I don't believe in commenting on something unless you're well researched on the subject.
Rubbish. What changes did they want to make? Because 18C should just be thrown out. It's just a shit policy.
Okay.
It's a shit code. Oh, you might have your feelings hurt, therefore you can be arrested and sued and all sorts of carry on. It's a ridiculous policy.
Right. Good talk.
Which comment, Senator Slayer? Because I've never chased a political career. It's never worried me in the slightest.
What's the joke you made about ovens?
I've got a whole slew of jokes in around all that stuff. I've been in kitchens for 20 years. Political correctness is not my thing.
No, well, not, yeah, me too. But I'm trying to self-censor a little bit more, but it's hard to do because I put the foot in my mouth all the time anyway.
I thought you didn't like feet. Make your mind up.
I don't like feet. Oh, shut up. Dean lost because of his white privilege. You lost because you're white.
Oh, well.
Actually, this is something that I was thinking, and I can't help think this. It's not my fault, but I have noticed that the LDP doesn't have that much. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just I can't help. I have a bit of lefty in me sometimes, and like there's no person of color in the LDP.
Shit, we better sign some up.
Yeah,
that'd be like me converting to faith just so that you guys would be better friends with me.
Exactly.
It's a matter of being genuine about where you stand and on things, and I don't look at colour or religion or anything like that. I just take you as I find you. And the LDP, I'm not going to just go out and start recruiting transgendered Aboriginals because we want to be more inclusive or some shit like that. I mean, if one shows up, they'd be more than welcome. Nobody's going to go, you can get out because you're a transgendered Aboriginal, lesbian, bisexual, whatever. Who cares? Nobody cares. It's just a matter of Hogarth wants to join the LDP. Come along, pay your membership fee, darling, and then you can, I don't know, did she eat a pimple this morning or something? That was very upsetting. I don't know how you could keep a straight face through that entire Hogarth thing. That was tragic.
I'm a fantastic actress.
I couldn't keep a straight face watching it. It was very often.
I thought Dean was Hogarth.
I'd be excellent at Hogarth.
I'm Hogarth. Yeah. Just about chin. All right. Well, I've looked down and everything is all read out. It appears that the arrogant Indian won, but Dean has a lot of support too. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple of newer viewers today. I know that they probably won't stick around for like my usual content, but I know this was an interesting discussion. I'm glad that this was my first debate because it was fun. The next one will actually be more structured because it's very specific. So it'll be Christopher Shortis versus Bob Payne. Bob Payne, for those who don't know, is a pastor. He's friends with Fred Nile. He was coincidentally the Victorian, what's the word?
Candidate.
Thank you. Sorry, candidate for the Christian Democratic Party here. I met him not through Joel or anyone like that. I met him completely randomly. So that's this guy, and he'll be arguing that the Trinity is biblical. And Christopher Shortis.
How does you people have you got back there? What else is behind you?
A lot.
You bring up books and all sorts of things.
Hardo Bossy, The Future of Australia, Sex and the City.
What?
I have a kangaroo.
Why have you got that, dear? I thought you lived in a good Christian household.
Immune. Oh, I can watch movies about things like I used to watch The L Word. What else do I have? I can't see anything else. I have a pair of scissors. Got lots of things. The Holy Bible. Do you have the Quran as well? That's a big Bible. Yeah, well, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Dia is a basic. Piss off, Kenji. Why is Kenji being so mean? Kenji was one of my boyfriends. He's no longer a boyfriend. I'm deleting him. No. All right. Well, everyone.
Pumpkin spice latte.
Pumpkin spice latte. Well, I hope everyone was relatively pleased with this debate. I'm sorry if anyone wasn't, but I thought it was interesting enough. I thought it was entertaining. I'm sorry I had to go pee.
That was the highlight of the whole show. What are you talking about? My
hands are clean. And tune in for my video on Wednesday night, which is an interview with what's his name, Bob Payne, and then on I'm Not Dating Steel Archer, and then on Saturday I'll release a new video which is about voting, and then on Sunday I have another debate. Okay, If anyone wants to follow Dean McCrae or Samraat on Facebook, they can. I've done it it's in the description box below. And on Monday night is XYZ. They start at 9 o'clock. That's Maddie and David Hiscox from XYZ. And then there's a whole host of other shows, but I think we should, it's hard to promote them all. We need a proper thing. And then there's like the Dusty Bogan, and then there's Carnage House Productions, and then there's Wilm's Front, and it's all hard to keep track of, but there's a lot of good stuff. Anyway, say goodbye.
See you guys. Thank you. It's been fun. Samraat, always a delight.
All right, and next time, Dean, just keep your answers a bit shorter, please.
We'll keep your questions a bit simpler. Are you really good looking? Yes, thank you. I am. Oh, well, you are. Sorry.
Asked us, so obviously no one thinks it.
Now you're hurting my feelings again. I'm very sensitive.
Good. I'm glad.
I need to pee.
All right.